All right. Hey, look who I have. Look who I have. A blast from the past. Styx, how you doing?
Very, very well, and I'm hoping you're doing well too.
It's just like we grew up together, it seems, on the internet, the early days of YouTube. And I've always enjoyed your content. And you're looking good. You're looking good. I was saying before the show, I love the pirate hat look. It's pretty good. So, you know what you need? You need to get like a parrot then, and you'll be all set.
I would train it to say racial slurs.
That would be good. That'd be good. Guys, I don't know if Styx needs an introduction. But how would you describe yourself, Styx?
At this point, a pirate.
A pirate. All right.
Arr, matey. We be plundering booty. I'll tip you the black spot, don't you know?
A pirate that's also a libertarian that respects a non-aggressive principle, right, or whatever.
It's funny because actually pirates were more libertarian like than their contemporaries at the time.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at the history of piracy, they were the ones that were more like purely democratic and actually like had rules on their vessel and stuff. The
Uh,
regulars, they were all hierarchical.
Oh, okay. Well, that's pretty cool. I don't know much about pirates, but they always. My knowledge of pirates has been in Disneyland and Pirates of the Caribbean. That was a cool ride. So that's pretty much my knowledge of it. Guys, thank you so much. And by the way, as we do the show, we'll get to your super chats. You can super chats on YouTube. Rumble has rants. There's Power Chat link here and Streamelements. And any super chats we get, Styx and I will split 50-50. So if you like programs like this, show some love and throw some questions or comments our way. We would really appreciate it. And this is kind of open form, Styx, but I thought we'd talk about Trump's first 100 days because that's kind of appropriate. Is that good with you?
Yeah, that's fine by me.
All right. And I thought we'd give it a grade. I'm going to put
Let
you on
me
the
let me
spot.
check my audio though really quickly because for some reason it seems that you're um huh.
Is your audio off or you can't hear me or
It's just you're really low.
I'm
Maybe I've
low,
got
huh?
this. Maybe I don't have this plugged in fully or something.
I can hear you fine. You guys hear me okay? In the chat. Hey, Lil.
Huh.
I should
That's
be
odd.
okay. Okay, so can you hear me okay or not really?
I can now, yeah.
Okay, maybe it's just a glitch. All right, so we're going to do the first 100 days. And I have these by categories, and I'm going to put you on the spot. So I didn't tell you this beforehand, and I want you to give each category a letter grade: A, B, C, D, F. And we'll start with the big one: immigration. Uh, how, and this includes illegal and legal. Illegals that are within the country.
Yeah.
And how would you grade that and why? And then I'll give you kind of my take on that.
I'd give Trump a B plus on this one because he got right to work, which he promised to do, and he did. The border wall continues, although it isn't going up right now. Zoning to try to increase the border wall has gone forth, and there have been a bunch of deportations. And generally speaking, he's focused on people who are not just illegally in the country, but people who are like cartel members and stuff like that. I noticed that the
Right.
Democrats, they want to defend those people, but if somebody is, wrongfully slated for deportation, who is illegally in the country but otherwise hasn't done anything wrong, so it's, a matter of priorities. I've noticed that the Democrats don't give a shit about them.
Yeah, and I think Trump has been very good on the illegal immigration. If you saw the graph, it basically went to zero, and it shows that you could get control over the border. Because you remember Kamala?
Hmm.
Oh no, it's going to be really complicated. We got to spend billions of dollars, have various studies. It was like on day one, Trump has stopped the illegal immigration. If you take it seriously, it's not tough. Now, getting rid of the illegals in the country, he's run into tons of problems, obviously, with the judges. And you're right. I think for optics, he's going for the worst people first. Uh, And I think he's also the administration, as Stephen Miller talked about, the idea of self-deportation, which I advocate, because if you start to deport people, you can have a message, hey, instead of getting deported where you can't get your shit back in your apartment, why don't you just get the heck out now? Then you can try to come back in legally. So for everyone we deport that's illegal, I think a lot of people will just self-deport. Do you see it that way?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that that's happening a lot more than people think too, because keep in mind, a lot of these people are literally undocumented. So you don't even know exactly how many people are illegally in the country necessarily. And some of these people are like, oh, fuck, before I was allowed to stay in the country and it was basically deferred action. Nobody would give me any problems. Now it's more like, oh, well, hell, I'm going to be literally physically escorted to the border and put on a plane or something like that.
Yeah, and I think if we just crack down on if you can't get a job if you're illegal, so if we start doing that, we every business has to check, make sure you're here legally or a citizen, and then cut off the welfare, that would eliminate, I think, about 80-90% of the people that want to be here. Because I don't think they want to be here because of our Constitution or anything like that. It's because it's a better society and they want to be here. And if they can't make money here, I think they're going to head back to their
Yeah.
home country.
And the thing is, I pity these people because a lot of them, they're trying to leave socialist regimes and stuff like Venezuela and so
Hmm.
forth. And so, I mean, I don't have any animus towards them or anything like that, but there are certain channels you have to travel through to make sure that you are not a terrorist or something like that. That's literally the only thing that people are asking, and they're being treated like pariahs for doing so, being treated like they're being racist or something like that. It makes no sense.
Yeah. What do you think about the judges? You think they're going to make it impossible to deport people? Because you saw that one judge rule that everyone needs a warrant for their arrest, and it's going to be like physically impossible to get everyone out. Or do you think Trump is going to deal with that somehow? How's he going to deal with the judges in general?
I think that they'll manage, but it'll take years. It'll be a very long slog. And the thing is that Trump only has a mandate for so long. People will lose patience because they don't understand how the legal system works. They don't understand that it can take years to litigate these cases. And so they're going to grow impatient, I think, with Trump at some point, and he'll take attrition as a result of that.
You mean like in the midterms, he won't have so he's got basically 2 years, or do you think he's got the whole 4 years to try to implement this?
Well, he has the full 4 years. It's just that the patience, the ability of the population to continue supporting him, the people that voted for him and so forth, will wane over time. And this happens with every presidency for the most part anyway, especially in second terms. So,
Well, what did you think? And this happened before he was in office, the whole H-1B thing. There's a lot of controversy about that. I used to work in tech and I saw that they'd bring Indians in, and when they really don't need to. We have a lot of American programmers. And it seems like JD Vance and Vivek were supporting or Elon Musk were supporting that idea. What's your take on the H-1B visas?
I have no problem with the concept of work visas. I would say that Vivek himself, he really screwed himself. There's a reason why he's basically disappeared, and you don't hear anything about him anymore. I've noticed this. I've become a noticer in multiple ways. Yes, Vivek has effectively disappeared entirely,
I
and nobody
I
hears. He
I
doesn't
thought,
say,
yeah, isn't he running for Ohio governor or something? Or
yeah,
is
but nobody cares. Nobody talks
yeah.
about him. There's a
Yeah.
reason for that. I would say that work visas should be limited, generally speaking. They can be important. And I don't have any problem with somebody coming to the country and working in the country. As long as they're being lawful, they went through the motions, they filed the paperwork and so forth. I don't really have a problem with that. I stand aside from some other people that are, well, I'm not really, but on the right wing on this issue. But that being said, there have to be limits to it. And so there should be sort of a lottery system or something like that. And it should be understood that unless the person remains completely lawful, there won't be a path to citizenship simply because you worked in the country.
Why do you think we need H-1B visas? You think there's not enough qualified people in America, or what is the good thing? What are we getting out of it as Americans that helps us as a people?
Well, there are plenty of qualified people in the United States, but right now unemployment is considerably low. And there are certain sectors that simply aren't being fully filled. That's why I think that limitations should apply. You don't need more than a few 100,000 individuals on H-1B at any given time. It's not necessary to have millions and millions of people on H-1B.
Yeah, because I was in the tech industry, and it was supposed to be like, oh, we can't get Americans for the job, so we got to go H-1Bs. But the corporations, they weren't honest about that, and there would be a lot of Americans that are qualified, but they want H-1Bs because you get a lower rate, and you can almost keep them as, they're scared, they don't want to go back to India. So I think there's some problems there. Maybe in other sectors that's the case. I don't know. But I know in the tech world, it's almost all Indian now. And when I started in the tech world, until about 2010, it was almost all white or Asian. And now it's all pretty much Indian. And a lot of it's because of the H-1B. So I'm not really quite sure how it's helping Americans very much at all on that. But I wanted to, I give
the refrigerator at the job place now smells of curry.
Yeah. Oh, well, and what happens? You get the Indian managers in, and they're very tribal, because white people tend to be the least tribal people around, and they just hire other Indians, cousins, and so forth. And their qualifications are usually bullshit lies, but that's what happens. What you have, so you get kind of the chain immigration going on. I give Trump overall, you give him a B plus, I give him a B. So we're about the same. I'm very happy with his illegals, stopping that on the border. I got to give him a plus on that. I think he's doing what he can with the people here. It's not as simple as people think, of just rounding them up and kicking them out, unfortunately, because of the judges. I'm a little disappointed about his H-1B stance, though. I give him a F on that. But overall, I give him a B on that. So you gave him a little higher than I did, but that's still good. And now I want to transition to the next big topic. And by the way, we've already got some super chats, and we will get to them at the end. So keep them coming in. I really appreciate it. And again, I'm going to share them with Styx. If you'd like the show, this type of product, submit a question or a comment. I really appreciate it. All right, the next topic is the economy. And this kind of relates to immigration. And the big things there in the economy I'd like to talk about are tariffs, the budget, deficit we have right now, and the whole Elon Musk and Doge, all of that together. How would you rate Trump his first 100 days on the economy?
Again, a B plus, and I'll tell you why. I'll qualify this. The tariffs are basically to back down other nations. And so while I don't believe in tariffs, I believe in free trade. I understand the methodology behind it. Doge has been an unqualified success. $160 billion of wasteful spending have been parsed out. As far as the economy in general, though, it's taken a dive right now. But this is temporary, and people must understand this is a transitory period, effectively. And so I'll give him a B on the economy, a B plus on the economy, because overall, while things are a little bit lackluster at the moment with regards to GDP, certain job reporting in certain sectors, I believe that it'll pick back up. I believe that overall it'll be good, but it'll take a while for that to actually happen. People have to have patience.
What do you think Trump's real goal of tariffs were? He seems to be all over on the map on it. Originally, it seemed to be, it was with Canada and Mexico saying, hey, you got to control your illegals and you got to stop fentanyl, and otherwise we're going to put a big tariff on you. So they scrambled to try to appease Trump on that. And then it became, no, we want tariffs because our trade deficit is in balance and we need to bring manufacturing back into the United States because it provides jobs for American workers. And it also is a security issue. If we ever should get into war, we're in trouble if all our manufacturing is, let's say, in Taiwan or the semiconductor industry. It puts America at risk. And tariffs generate revenue because they, we could theoretically, who knows, he talked about getting rid of the income tax altogether, or no tax on tips, no tax on Social Security and all that sort of thing, no tax on overtime. I don't know where that stands, but so what do you think?
Unfortunately, I don't think that eliminating the income tax is going to happen.
No.
But no taxes on tips and Social Security and so forth, I think he'll probably be successful at that. I can't imagine the Republicans, even they cannot be stupid enough to stand in his way on such an issue.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm skeptical too if they'll actually reduce the taxes, but it would be good to see on that if that should happen. So what do you think his goal of tariffs is? You don't think it is? It's just a negotiating tactic? You don't think he's serious about being like McKinley and having tariffs as a primary way to generate revenue for the government and to keep jobs in America?
Yeah, I think that it's a negotiating tactic. I think that the idea is another country has tariffed, let's say, sorghum from the United States at 80%. So we retaliate with a similar tariff on something that they generally export to the United States because we're a net importer. And that actually gives us greater negotiating leverage because of the size of our economy. And so the whole point is simply to back them down. Not necessarily to eliminate the tariffs, but at least to reduce them. I think that that's basically what Trump is doing. By helping to ameliorate the trade imbalance, he's already helping the economy, even if he doesn't replace the income tax with the tariff system. I would support that. I just don't think that it's really doable.
Yeah, and we in getting into this is a good power chat we got from Tony. What about Trump on spending, especially defense spending? Is Trump bragging about a $1 trillion defense budget? Yeah, I had an issue with that too. It seems like I supported the Doge stuff, get rid of waste, but now it's a huge budget on the military. Are you Trump's never been like a real conservative fiscally, so I'm not really quite sure where he stands on this, but it is sort of mixed signals, at least all this additional defense spending.
I don't have any problem with increased defense spending as long as it's being used the right way. Recruitment is up. We're rebuilding the military. These are all good things. I'm just hoping that we use it very sparingly and don't use it to bomb random third worlders and stuff like that. I think that that part of the military budget should be used to replace the white chicken chunks. I believe it's menu 3 in the MREs with something that's actually edible. Trust me, don't try it. Don't bother.
All right. So you gave him an economy a B. I would give him a B too, because we'll have to see. I think the jury's still out what's going to happen with the economy. I'm not quite sure what he wants to do with tariffs. It doesn't seem like he has a really consistent message there. Is it a negotiating ploy, or is this the way he sees to restructure the economy? Yeah. I don't really know. He hasn't really. I was talking to Sassa last night, and she said he hasn't given a good message to the American people. Really, what's this all about? And is causing, I think, a lot of confusion there. You mentioned, so we got into the military. Now let's talk about foreign relations. And just so you understand what I'm going to talk about, so you can give a grade, this deals with Canada being the 51st state. Let's make Greenland a state. The whole Israel stuff. We need to silence people that protest Israel. We need to get the Panama Canal back, renaming the Gulf of Mexico to Gulf of America, and then finally the whole Iranian bit. And then we can even, talk a little bit about throw Ukraine in there too, what's happening there. So overall, there's been a lot there in foreign relations. I think he's almost bit off more than he could chew, but how would you grade his foreign relations policies right now?
I'll give him a B minus. And the reason is some of the suggestions are really good. The idea of reasserting control over the Panama Canal in order to preclude the Chinese from doing so, I agree with. The idea of pretending that you want to make Canada the 51st state in order to influence their political system makes sense. We're clearly not going to annex Canada. The idea of annexing Greenland, assuming that they establish further independence from Denmark and decide to petition, that would be perfectly fine. I think it's more about mineral deals more than anything else, by the way. As far as the Ukraine bit, it's shaky. And with regards to Israel and Palestine, we all knew that Donald Trump was going to be a strictly pro-Israeli president. This was clear from day one. We already knew that. And it has to be perhaps taken into consideration with regards to the diplomatic successes and failures of the administration. Taiwan, I have encouraged the Trump administration to arm the entire Taiwanese population, create a militia system to take care of the situation. The Chinese are not going to invade if there are 20 million guns aimed at them, for example. It would be impossible to invade them because they would have to create a beachhead. It would be really hard to create a beachhead under such situations. But this has not so far happened. However, I believe they sent Stinger missiles and things like that to Taiwan. So I do support, supporting the Taiwanese because otherwise some of our industries will outright collapse. But it comes at a great price.
So do you think China is, well, what gets a little complicated, they play a game over in China of, and I think Taiwan does too. There's only one China, and China officially considers Taiwan part of China. And we got to play the game. It's all one country, but everyone knows it's two countries. Would you worry that that could provoke China? And are you willing to go to a war with China? And could we win such a war? Would it be in our interest to fight China? Because to arm Taiwan like that, the Chinese would see as a very aggressive act. And or do you think they would? And would they respond?
I don't really care what the Chinese think. And that should be our own state policy, by the way. Who cares what you think? We're going to do what we want. We're going to trade with this other country. And what we really need to do is abandon the one China policy entirely. We need to abandon the idea that Taiwan's not a sovereign nation, acknowledge that they are, and tell China, look, if you don't like it, then, oh, okay, well, then we won't buy your goods. We could cripple their economy overnight. Their steel industry just collapsed. We don't need to fire a shot. We don't need to go to war with them. And I know I wouldn't want to fight in a war with China, mainly because I hate traveling and I'm, approaching my 40s, so it'd be a little bit difficult. Maybe do some privateering. We'll seize a couple of Chinese vessels and grab the booty.
So you kind of have like the FDR policy with Imperial Japan, which led to Pearl Harbor, right? Because the FBR put on really heavy sanctions on Japan, and that Japan felt like they had to attack. Aren't you worried that could happen with China? Do you think they would just? And you said, I know you say you don't care, but I don't know if they're that weak military, or do you think they're just overblown? Are they a paper tiger?
Well, I think that in the nuclear era, the cost of attacking another nuclear power is exceptionally high because you could potentially end up with a nuclear war, and this is taken into consideration. I don't think that China is necessarily interested enough in Taiwan to take such actions. I simply believe in making a militia in Taiwan. Give them all sidearms and, create an armory system and call it a day.
What do you think about Trump saying that people that trade with Iran, that's another issue because of Israel, but people that trade with Iran will put sanctions on, or buy oil from Iran. And of course, the nation that buys the most oil from Iran is China. So does Trump have a right, and again, we're getting back to what happened with FDR, to say, okay, China, you cannot buy oil from Iran. That's a pretty aggressive act. Do you support such a thing, or?
No, no, I don't. I don't support that particular move by the Trump administration.
Yeah, sometimes Trump, he just says a lot. You don't know really what he means. He kind of has a lot of bluster, like when he came in with Ukraine, I'm going to solve this on day one. Obviously, that didn't happen because it's more complicated than that. And I know that's Trump's style, but sometimes I think that gets him in trouble. So, yeah, if you trade with Iran, we're going to put sanctions on you. And well, that's China. And this gets back to the whole tariff bit, though. Don't you see the problem of free trade is if all our industry goes to China and manufacturing? Don't you see the potential problem for security reasons there? That's Trump's brought that up.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I don't support the Trump administration's position on Iran. It's the same old aggression that's been shown for decades and decades. And I mean, the obvious reason is because Trump has to be unabashedly pro-Israel.
Right.
And since the Iranians don't really like the Israeli state, of course, there's a default there, so to speak.
Yeah, with Iran, the whole thing comes up with, I suppose they're arming the Houthis, right? And the Houthis
That is a problem, though, because they have been firing on U.S. vessels.
Yes.
That part I agree with the Trump administration on, attacking, the Houthis when they're using sea missiles and stuff like that.
But the problem is, how do you attack people that are using cheap drones? And what do you attack exactly? Because it hasn't worked, right? Because the Houthis so far have won the war. The Red Sea is closed to shipping from the United States. Because the whole reason for it was the Houthis are like, well, if you're going to fund this genocide in Gaza, we're going to shut down the Red Sea to anyone that supports Israel doing that. And so they have, because cargo ships, they need insurance, to travel, and they can't get insurance because they get drone attacks. We send our ships there, and our missiles that cost over $1 million each could shoot down a $20,000 drone. But how do you deal with that? Bombing is not enough. Did we seen in boots on the ground? That's the only way you can do it. But I don't see the political will for that.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't support boots on the ground in Yemen. I think simply literally got and they cost about $200. You've got anti-drone guns that can literally scramble them. Why don't we just use those? It's literally just small arms.
Yeah, I've heard people talk about that. In fact, in Ukraine, a lot of times they're using shotguns to shoot down drones. It's kind of funny how the warfare has changed. Continuing on the whole Israel thing, and I don't want to make this all about Israel. Do you have, as a libertarian, are you still a libertarian, or you define yourself?
I'm a classical liberal, so close enough.
Okay.
I'm a pragmatic libertarian.
Pragmatic libertarian. Okay. So do you support Trump's big push that if you protest Israel and you're not a United States citizen, you get kicked out? We saw.
No. I made a video about that this morning. I do not support that in any way, shape, or form. I think that if a person is otherwise law-abiding, they're a citizen, law-abiding resident of the United States or whatever, free speech. It doesn't matter if you criticize Netanyahu. I don't care. I mean, that's not my country. My flag is not the Star of David. My flag is the Star and Stripes. Well, actually, technically, my flag is the Skull and Bones, but,
That's right. Yeah. And I'm in the South now, so I guess it'd be the Confederate battle flag. But yeah, I see what you're saying there. So your position, I think we should just treat Israel like we would treat any other country, but unfortunately that's not the case because of influence in our media and in AIPAC, and also Christian Zionists, to be honest, are really big. They think it's part of prophecy that we got to support Israel because Jesus will come back and all that type of stuff.
They're still trying to raise a red heifer and stuff like that.
They are, and build
to literally usher in the end times.
Yeah, build a new temple or something, and so the Antichrist would come and all that type of stuff. So it's pretty wacky, but that does influence a lot of our policy here. And we'll talk a little bit. And guys, I see some more super chats. We'll get to them at the end, so please bring them in. We'll try to keep the show to an hour, then we'll take the super chats. So I do appreciate it. If you like this type of material, send us some comments or questions, And we got SuperChats. Rumble has Rants. We have Powerchats and Streamelements. All right. So foreign relations, I would give it a. Oh, we forgot one. I forgot one because I had its own category before give him my grade. Ukraine. He said Trump, I will stop this on day one. They've had all the negotiating teams with Putin, Zelensky, and back and forth, and we're still, I guess, giving weapons to Ukraine. That seemed like Biden did a bunch, and now it froze. What's your whole take on Ukraine, and where's it going to go, and what should the United States position be in it?
Well, we did just strike a mineral deal, which I believe to be strategic. Because the idea is you move U.S. assets into Ukraine at large, and the Russians won't dare to attack them for fear of reprisal. Overall, though, with Ukraine, I'm neither pro nor anti-Ukraine. I simply don't give a shit. I don't care about Ukraine or Russia because it's not in my continent. It's not in my backyard. It has nothing to do with me. I feel sorry for the Ukrainian people, just as I feel sorry for Russian citizens that have been killed in Ukrainian drone strikes. I feel sorry for them all. The citizens shouldn't be suffering. The war never should have existed in the first place. There should have been fair diplomacy. I would point out, though, the Western media used to say Ukraine was legendarily corrupt. And then all of a sudden, once the war began, because Orange Man bad and evil Kremlin and stuff like that, all of a sudden Zelensky had saint candles being made for him. And I was like, that's totally not weird. Literally treating a politician as a saint.
That is why do you think the West is so behind Ukraine? And this is a complicated issue. It really goes by money.
Yeah, it's not complicated at all. They just want money.
Where are they going to get the money from? I don't.
Arms dealing, of course.
Yeah, I mean, they could still have militaries without Ukraine, I guess, but it is so your position, you want to give weapons or money to Ukraine?
No, I do not.
All right, that's my position.
I want to be completely uninvolved in it. I don't want any of my tax money going to bomb people.
I agree with that. I'm 100%. But the counter argument then is, well, Russia's going to win, and then they're going to take all of Ukraine, then attack Germany and Poland and France and all that.
Yeah, that's ludicrous because those are all in NATO. Those are all in NATO, and some of them are nuclear powers.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally different. Ukraine's not in NATO.
Yeah, and I would say that Russia doesn't even want all of Ukraine. They want the eastern provinces, Donbass, which the people, you could say maybe the vote was fraudulent, but those are ethnically speaking Russians. A lot of them, they voted to be part of Russia, especially in Crimea. So it's a kind of a complicated thing there. I think we should wash our hands of it. I was hoping that would be Trump's, the way he would proceed with it. But it seems like I don't want Ukraine to become his Vietnam, like when LBJ inherited Vietnam from Kennedy. LBJ felt like, to save face, he couldn't get out of it, and he had to try to escalate. And I hope Trump doesn't get in that sense of a mind. I know we don't have troops there, so it's not quite the same, but we don't have the money to be pissing away on some war in Ukraine. And I think most people are tired of it, really, and they don't see the reason for us to be part of that. So I give his whole foreign relations, I'd probably give it a C at this point, just because when talking to Canada, I know you said that was just trolling. I don't think he is trolling. I did at first, but I think he would like Canada. I think Trump sees himself as like McKinley. He wants to expand America to be all North America. I really do believe that. And so he thought Canada won't be able to stand on their own. And we saw after the election, Alberta's talking about leaving Canada. I don't know if anything will come with that. But Canada is in a bad situation financially. The people there, they have an income equivalent to Mississippi, but their standard or the cost of living is like California. So they're in a dire situation. And
it would be funny if we annexed Canada, because then Fallout lore would be one step closer to truth.
I oppose it because if Canada was just one state, it'd be like a huge California with two blue senators, and the Republicans would never win an election again because they would just vote to the left. So I think it's ridiculous. So I oppose it. Um, and Greenland, there's fewer green. I didn't realize this till he brought up Greenland, but there's fewer people in Greenland than there is in Fayetteville, Arkansas. I live sort of near Fayetteville. So that's how small. It's only like 56,000 people in Greenland.
Yeah,
So
but a huge amount of resources. And the thing is that
yes,
because of European rules, the Danish, who de facto rule it, won't let them extract the resources. If the United States controlled it and it did become a state, it'd probably actually become a conservative state, honestly. Because once they realize how much wealthier and more well off they are, I have a feeling that they would say, oh, well, this is the life.
yeah, maybe if people moved in there. I think they have a lot of Eskimos there right now, and even they vote very left wing because they can vote for the Danish parliament. They tend to be very left wing, and so I don't know. And surprisingly, most of them are on welfare. And you're right; they have a lot of resources there.
A lot
So
of resources, but a lot of like unemployment and other problems there.
yeah,
It's almost a little bit like Alaska.
right. Alaska would be very left wing if it wasn't for the white population.
Yeah.
So that's the I think would be the similar situation in Greenland. And yeah, and so I give foreign relations a C, mostly because I'm upset. I thought Greenland and Canada were distractions. That wasn't something the Americans were looking at really. I'm not a big fan of the put Israel first. I don't know if that's just Trump's boomer in him, or maybe because of Sheldon Adelson, all that money. But
It's
I'm
sort
not a
of
big
like
fan.
a ritualistic sort of
Yeah,
thing, I think.
and yeah, and so I don't like this Iran thing. I was hopeful for Ukraine. He was going to try to get a proposal. If they reneged on it, he would just say, "Well, we wash our hands of the matter." But sadly, I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope that happens. It still may, but right now I got to give it a C. I'm not a huge big fan on that. Um, let's talk about social stuff, grades. Like when I talk about social stuff, I'm talking about DEI and all that type of stuff. How would you grade them in that category?
I give him an A. On social things related to CRT, DEI, etc., drag queen story hour, and all of that shit, he has definitely done a good job. One thing that he's done, and this is important, is that he's delegated a lot of these responsibilities to other people so that he can clear his schedule and get down to brass tacks with regards to the economy and the border and things like that. He's almost taking up an Eisenhower approach, it seems. This is different from his first term. In his first term, it seems like he wanted to do everything himself, and so he got bogged down more easily. This time around, he's delegating to people like Rubio, Hegseth, and so forth, and so they're capable of clearing way for him to then come in and finish the job. As far as DEI and stuff like that, the Doge thing has been wildly successful. Did they clear $1 trillion off the budget? No, and they never were going to do so. But 160 billion is still quite a lot of money. I wish I had 160 billion dollars. Imagine the garden I could make with that. Yeah, exactly. We're underestimating the impact of an extra governmental agency that was incepted in part by Trump through people that were allied to him, and were talking to him, as well as his own efforts within the agencies. We've for the first time in I don't know how long, we have agency heads that are literally slicing down their own agencies. So I give him an A.
Yeah, I'd have to give him an A too. He's really made DEI a dirty word, and I didn't ever expect that would happen. And I think we're seeing a pushback on all this anti-white type of policies that we saw. And I think it's been building up, and we see it in various manifestations of it. It's amazing how quickly we went from George Floyd, where white people evil, we got to exclude white people from the hiring process, to now people are sick of the whole DEI concept. And part of it being a president, I've always said, is you have a bully pulpit. And even though you can implement some policies, that's important. But you could choose what to put into the public thought. And right now is a huge issue, the DEI and the whole idea of what we should do. And what's your opinion of, I know he was kicking around idea how to improve the birth rates, about giving like a $5,000 for every baby you have or something like that. I think that's a little bit naive. I used to live in Hungary. They tried stuff like that. It didn't really move the needle a lot. I think low birth rates, they're because of a variety of things, mostly because women now, they go to college, they go to the career, they defer having a baby. And then when you get older, you're not as fertile. So I think that has more to do with it than just a tax policy or giving money. And do you see this as even a real issue? Because I'm older than you, Styx, by a lot, but when I was a kid, the big issue was overpopulation. All the world's going to die because there's too many people in the world. We got to do something about overpopulation. Now it seems to be inverted. Now, oh my God, we don't have enough children, and places like South Korea could disappear, or Japan. But like, Japan's an extremely crowded island, and I've often wondered, would it really hurt if we went back to the 1970 population in Japan? I don't know. I don't know if they're really going to disappear. So are falling birth rates, first of all, do you think it's a problem? And if so, what should be done, if anything, to address it?
I think it's a problem if uncontrolled. It's perfectly fine to revert the population somewhat. Then you'll have more fallow land and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it has to be managed in an intelligent manner. And unfortunately, what we've got is a situation in which the globalists are taking advantage of the fallen birth rates in Western countries to import people from other countries under economic guises. Well, we need more people to clean the floors and to flip the burgers and so forth. We need another 1 million people from Rwanda or something like that. And so they're using that as a form of soft invasion, as it were. So it behooves the Western population to very slowly degrade its population, but very, very slowly. So, some couples have 1 kid, some couples have 3 kids, or something like that. I do believe in incentivizing birth in general, because right now under Bidenomics, let's not even talk about the population issue. Let's talk about just pure economics. Right now, because of the damage that was done to the population by Biden and done to the economy, and the massive inflation rate, it's almost impossible for people to even conceive of having a child right now, unless they're at least in the upper middle class. Well, if you subsidize those children, hopefully people at least in the core middle class, lower middle class, will have another child. And that's what you need.
Did you ever see that movie, Idiocracy?
Oh, yeah, I've seen that several times.
Yeah, because they have, when you brought up about, it is interesting.
Ow, my balls.
Yeah, or the opening was a classic where you have the upper middle class family. Oh, no. In today's stock portfolio, it's not the time to have a child. Then you have Bubba, just kidding.
I'm going to fuck everything.
Yeah, everything is because they don't really care. So in a sense, we're encouraging the wrong people to have babies, really.
It's dysgenic, yes.
It is dysgenic. And I think that was the point of that movie. It was an excellent movie, by the way. I really enjoyed it. But I think that is true. So, okay. And then, so I give him an A plus on DEI and attacking all that. I think it's really changed the whole perception in America concerning race, and not just race, but the whole transgender thing and all of that type of stuff, which I always thought was pretty weird, trying to push all that type of stuff in schools and everything else. The last category I had was his energy policy. how would you rate that? And this is he's trying to open up, coal and pipelines and all of that. Well, how would you rate that? And as a caveat, are you concerned at all about the whole? It's going to make Mother Earth mad because we're going to make everything is going to get too hot because of carbon, and because it seems like Trump has no interest in that. He calls it the green scam, whereas Canada, they have like a carbon tax and they're making it so expensive people can't fly, and it's just real sad what's going up there. But supposedly that's to save the world. Where do you stand on all that?
I'll give him a B minus on this. And that's because he's not moving quickly enough to drill baby drill. And to answer the second question, no, I don't care about the green new steel or anything like that, because it's a pile of horseshit. This world is, as we saw in Spain the other day, this world is not capable of transferring its energy grids all the way to solar and wind. It can definitely ameliorate things. I believe in home solar. I do believe in using wind power and stuff like that, but it can't make up the entire grid. It's not possible. It doesn't scale, to the national level. Not unless it's a little tiny country or something like Luxembourg or something like that. I'm sure that they could get their entire grid going on solar, and it would be possible with enough battery systems. But this is the United States. It's a country the size of Europe. It's not we're not capable of doing that,
Yeah, speaking of which, you like myself, you used to live in Europe. What's your
No,
experience?
I'm not in Europe. I'm in
No, I
Vermont.
said you used to be in Europe, right?
Oh, you
Like
used to be.
myself, I used to be in Hungary. What was your experience there of how Europe is different than America, and can you really compare the two, or is it? And where's Europe going? With they seem to be all on board no matter what with fighting Russia, and they're into this new Green Deal, and they're trying to ban the AFD in Germany, and Le Pen, I guess they arrested. What the hell's going on with Europe? And because you used to live there, do you have any sense of that?
There's a lot of Europe, at least the Netherlands, is doing it better than the United States with regards to solar, because they're not making solar fields, they're mounting it on houses. So pre-existing structures that are already there, which means that other land can be reserved aside for other uses, farming, forest, orchards, whatever. So on that token, I would grade them highly. As far as the opinion with regards to Russia, I didn't really see any animus towards the Russians when I was there in the Netherlands. It's more like, no Russian ever stabbed me in the back, so why should I care? That's basically the mentality. But that's only in the Netherlands. You see, I've never been in Poland or Hungary or any place like that, only the Netherlands and Germany.
The only place I saw a lot of anti-Russian sentiment when I was there, I did a speech once in Estonia. In Estonia, they used to be controlled by the Soviets, and the Soviets actually did a policy where they tried to move ethnic cleansing, basically move a lot of the Estonians out and Russians in. So there's still some issue there of hatred of Russians. And it was interesting. Years ago, I was in, I think it was Sweden. I gave a speech or one of those places, and Right Sector was there. You're familiar with them in
Oh yeah,
Ukraine?
I've heard of Right Sector, yeah.
They're like all hardcore right wing, and that whole thing is just really strange. Just how they just despise Russians beyond anything else, and it doesn't really make a lot of sense to us on the outside. They're called like, oh, evil neo Nazis, but they support Zelensky, who's Jewish. It's just a bizarre thing over there. Yeah, I give his energy and renewal. I give it an A. I think it's been pretty good. The only thing I would say there's a little issue there. My daughter's in the energy field, and she said they're having issues now trying to understand what the tariffs are going to be or not be, and that's creating confusion because they really need clarity on that. And that goes kind of back to the tariffs. I think Trump really needs to state his position, what he's going to is this negotiating tactic or is long term, because companies they have to know what's going to happen, right? You can't You need to
Yeah.
know long term what's going to happen for planning because you just can't move your base of operations overnight. Then Trump saying, "No, I was just kidding." You need to understand what's happening. So, finally, before we get to the questions, and in the last few minutes we'll get questions. You guys, if you have questions, please send them in if you like content like this. And Styx, it's so great to have you back. By the way, I really missed you, and I hope you're doing well and
it's
everything.
a
And
it's a pleasure.
yes, yes. Uh, two questions. What do you think has worked with Trump in his first 100 days, and what do you find in general hasn't worked as well? What has been messy?
Yeah. What has worked, the immigration policy, generally speaking, has been a success.
Hmm.
His policy with regards to crime, which is related to immigration in many cases, that's generally worked. And his diplomacy appears to be generally working, not 100%. There are some failures, but there are some other big wins. Like, for instance, China just the other day said, well, we're open to negotiating with the Americans with regards to these tariffs. Well, it's funny because the liberals in the United States told me that would never happen. There's probably a reason for this. Other countries have followed suit as well. Vietnam, for example, notably, although Vietnam is pretty based, so nobody wants to fuck with them. And then what doesn't work so much, his policy vis-a-vis Israel and Palestine, I think is one of the biggest glaring errors because it follows the standard neocon policies that have failed over and over since the 1960s more than anything else. Basically, an unabashed approach to the situation, backing Israel completely, regardless of what it does. It creates diplomatic dead weight on our country, and it lessens our ability to be able to negotiate with others. That would be my opinion.
Yeah, I rate his Israel and entangling us with the whole Iran thing as being a mess. We shouldn't even have the issue. We wouldn't have the issue with the Houthis unless we were supporting Israel, giving them a blank check. I do support his immigration policies. I do like his economic policies, but I have to give it a caveat is like I don't he hasn't really explained them that well, really what his vision is. But I like his ideas he's throwing out there, like eliminate taxes on tips and speaking of which, are super chats tips? I guess they are, right? so,
There's no tax on super chats anymore.
That's a tip, right? I don't know. So, yeah. So, overall, I'd give him a B. What would you give him overall grade for this first 100 days?
Broadly, a B plus.
B plus. Okay. Good. All right. We'll get into your questions. Guys, we still have time, so send them in. I appreciate it. And I'll start with the rants first. Hot take. I'm not a fan of the mineral deal with Ukraine. It is de facto NATO membership for Ukraine and further entangles us in the region, which I'm not a fan of at all. I follow people that really are smarter than I am. There's quite a few people that looked into this deal, and this does not really. It's not de facto NATO. We are not providing any security guarantees. That's what Zelensky wanted. If it's not part of NATO, he still wants like an Article 5 security guarantee that we will fight their wars for Ukraine. And I give Trump credit on this that we've always said, no security guarantees. And the mineral deal, my understanding is like a 10-year deal or the first 10 years, it's like a joint partnership between Ukraine and the United States. The first 10 years, all the money goes to Ukraine, then maybe it's split. And then I don't think if Ukraine ceases to exist or Zelensky is fled and off to Tel Aviv or he's strung up, it probably won't be. Zelensky, I don't see him as an honorable man. That's not good. He's not.
He's definitely not.
No, he doesn't feel obligated to fulfill any. I consider this all pretty much nonsense. I don't consider it a real thing. What do you think? Do you think this is a good thing or a bad thing? The mineral deal. First of all, would you agree with me? It's not de facto NATO membership.
No, it's not. I think that it's a good thing overall. It's basically the United States is going to try to advance your economy in hopes of a future payoff.
Yeah,
it's sort of like it's a long-term investment sort of thing.
Yeah, and then he followed up the another rant. The minerals deal ultimately ensconces us further in the region, which we should not be involved with. Well, us, I think it's more of a business thing. I don't really, I don't see this as a military deal whatsoever. Like we're going to put troops to enforce it. To be honest, I take this whole deal with a grain of salt. I don't think it's going to really mean a whole lot. So
Yeah.
we'll take it from there. Um, to roughly quote the legendary Ron Paul, we marched in, we can march right out. We should act like Pontius Pilate and wipe our hands of the entire region. We're broke and need to focus on us. Well, I do agree with Ron Paul. I've always liked Ron Paul, and I think we should just focus on America, what's in our interest, and not worry about bringing liberal democracy or whatever the hell it is to the world. I think we probably agree with that, don't we, Styx?
Yeah, I mean, it never works. It would be great if the entire world could be classically liberal and everyone had, human rights and stuff like that, but there's no way to enforce that by force. It's not possible.
Right. And I don't see that ever happening. And we got to allow countries to do what they, as long as they don't interfere with us. In regards to the whole Russia-Ukrainian catastrophe, I highly recommend both of you read Scott Horton's masterpiece, Provoked is Damn Good, over 8,000 footnotes and citations. Okay, people want to check that out. That's good. And guys, still send in some more rants if you want. Now we'll get to the power chats here. Let's see here. Robert, does Styx feel the 500,000 raise for Carmelo Anthony prove being colorblind is not possible with a group that refuses to be that way? OJ Simpson was the same way. So this is that guy that stabbed that white kid because the white kid told him, he's in the wrong area. And I guess the corollary to this is that lady that said the naughty word on the video, she's raised about 300,000. As I was saying, man,
Shiloh, yeah.
Yeah, Shiloh, man, if I knew you get that much, I'd be richer than Elon Musk by now. But it hasn't worked for me. But she made a lot of money doing
I'm
that.
Team Shiloh on this one.
Yeah, it's a word. Who cares? It's not the same as stabbing someone.
It's like, hey, somebody who's been, alleged to have, what did he do? What was the crime again? Like kitty rape or something like that?
Oh yeah, he was a pedophile, I guess. The black
Yeah,
guy.
so I mean, if you insult somebody who's engaging in that sort of behavior, then no, I don't care. Also, she's pretty hot.
Yeah, she
Not gonna
was.
lie.
Yeah, she's kind of yeah. Well, she's kind of rare, where she looks kind of more lower class, but at the same time, most of the lower class women tend to be really fat, and so I give her that. She's not
Get
that. So
get you a woman who will flick off somebody who's trying to record her.
all right, we got now some super chats to get through, and guys, keep them coming in. Let's see here. This is from 11 Industrial Complex 009. How do you make someone kill themselves? Asking for a friend with a lot of enemies. What are your MK Ultra techniques? I think this is referring to all that, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to. Obviously, you've been part of the drama sphere recently for whatever reason, and did you want to go into this or not?
I think that they're referring to my PsyOps training that I've talked to, but I don't want to make anyone kill themselves. I'd rather them improve their lives.
Yeah, I think there was that. I don't know. They said that you somehow did a magic spell and killed some district attorney or something. Is that true?
I take the fifth.
Okay. Well, you can't be convicted of casting a magic spell, so it doesn't matter, right? At least I don't think so on that. So how is that all going? Has that been bothering you, all the drama around you and stuff?
No, I'm not bothered in the least.
All right. Let's see. Zoom.
By the way, for some reason, your camera appears to be freezing up.
Oh, does it? Let me take a look.
Intermittently.
Maybe I have a bad connection or something. No, my connection looks okay.
Now it's fine.
Huh? Maybe I don't know what. Probably a hiccup. Let me see here. We'll get through some others. We got some other super chats here. Let me bring this up.
I've got a
Here.
mayfly in here.
All right. This is Zoom Gadget. The least Trump could do is eliminate tax on tips. Even the highest tax country in the world, Denmark, has no tax on tips. I did not know that. I would just like to see income taxes lower. What are your thoughts about all taxes?
Any time that a tax can be removed or reduced, take the advantage. I don't believe in taxes on tips.
Yeah, I'd be fine getting rid of that. But it'd be, I joked about it, but what would you define as a tip? Everyone would want like a low salary and everything else is tips.
I think as much as possible should be under the table and everyone should act like Han Solo or something like that.
Yeah.
As many transactions as possible that aren't taxable.
Yeah, I am also pretty anti-tax for the most part. SI Guy 33, great to see you two together again. Hit the like. Yeah, it's great to do a stream again with Styx. He's always been a good friend and I've enjoyed working with him. And Mr. Repurposed just said $5. Hey ho, hi, how you doing? Zoom Gadget, if Greenland received $1 million to vote themselves into the USA, Greenland could become American. It might even be a good deal for the USA. There was talk about, because there's so few people, that you could probably pay him off and they would vote to, join the United States. I don't know if that'd be wise or not. What are your thoughts? Should we pay him off to join us?
Yes. We should also
I'm okay.
We should also pay Panama a boatload of money to cover their national debt in order to recover the Panama Canal because it's so valuable. I think we should sweeten the deal. Put the carrot before the stick. Give them a boatload of money. Just give them crates and crates of fucking goddamn money. And then grab up the Panama Canal and put bases on both sides, basically.
Yeah, that would work there. I could be talked into Greenland. I'm definitely opposed to Canada, unless it's something like Alberta, maybe that wants to join. I don't want Canada as part of the United States. No offense to Canadians, but it would be like another California. Arthur, to Styx, would you also consider being a ninja too? Could that be a thing where you're a ninja in the future?
I prefer cutlasses to ninja swords.
Yeah, that's more of the Have you ever been to Japan?
No, I wish.
Yeah, that would be kind of fun. Another rant. Styx, do you still have the Morning Star on you? Unironically, the best gift ever.
Yeah, I've still got it literally right in my lap.
All right, so that's pretty cool. So let's see here.
I've got a short sword from World War I Argentina, and then I've got a flail.
And he also did a rant. Just for clarification, my concern with Ukraine isn't the militaristic concern, but rather an economic concern. I just don't want to be involved. I don't think it's our business either way. I mean, I just don't see this as a pressing issue for the United States. And I agree with Styx. I would be neutral as the United States. I'd say we're not funding Ukraine or Russia. We will be happy to help mediate a peace if they want us to do that. But we're not going to be involved with that, long term, because it's just not really in our interest. And then let's see, Blunderbuss, is Styx auditioning for a role in Lord Miles' upcoming Haiti invasion? So is Lord Miles invading Haiti? That guy's kind of funny.
I guess I'll have to partner up with him.
Yeah, if you guys don't know who he is, I followed him on X, and he's gone to Afghanistan. He's kind of like a modern day adventurer. He just goes wherever you're not supposed to be.
Yeah, Lord Miles is funny as hell.
He is. He's really good. I enjoyed his content. So I don't know. I could see that. So
you can join us too, and we'll all have our own ships, and we'll just invade.
We can have our old pirate ship. That'd be fine. And there's no taxes on booty, right? So.
You don't want any booty in Haiti unless you want to get AIDS.
Yeah, not that kind of booty. That's for sure too. All right. So this has been a fun stream, Styx. It's been overdue. I really appreciate you being here. And I think most people know of you, but how can they follow you? And what have you been up to? What are you doing content wise? Anything new or just your
Lots
videos
of
or?
news, lots of politics, lots of gardening, preparations, of course, and some more book stuff, actually. Styx666 official on Twitter is the best place to follow me, actually, because I can give better updates to what I'm doing on other platforms as well.
Excellent. So you're coming out with a new book?
Oh yeah, I've got 5 of them done. I'm just waiting on my illustrator to communicate with me for the
Is this about
illustrations.
politics or the occult?
The occult.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we've got one more.
Oh yeah. What crystals do you recommend for summoning lightning storms? And think how many enemy ships you could think. I don't know.
Yeah,
Have you ever got into the whole crystal thing? I haven't. But
I've got a blood crystal.
you do.
Yes.
What's a blood crystal?
It's when you bleed yourself onto a crystal and utilize it for magical purposes.
Ah, and what do you get out of it? Like, what kind of magic do you do with a crystal? What do you get out of it tangibly?
Killing 16 people and then causing the ADA overseeing my case to kill himself.
Oh, so okay,
Sinking
so
a
yeah,
ship
you did
into
that.
the harbor and so forth.
Okay. Well, that is powerful. That is powerful. Yeah. So, okay. The
Most
blood
people
crystal.
think that I'm insane for saying such things, but then they will go and they will worship a ghost.
That's true. People they have a lot of different beliefs. That's for sure. So,
I'm a little bit on the
uh,
odd side. I don't pretend to be normal.
well, see, that's the thing. Hasn't that always been your thing? You've always been pretty upfront ever since the beginning. So this is like nothing new, right? And
Yeah,
I
I know.
respect it. I respect it. So,
Some people who joined more recently, it's like they're saying, "Styx, you're going insane." And I'm like, I've been insane the whole time. What are you talking about?
yeah, because you kind of got your start originally, right, with the occult and all that type of stuff, and then Trump came along. But at first, it wasn't really about politics, was it? It was more about the cult and so forth.
My first sort of claim to fame was actually drug related more than anything, but that was on a prior channel. And then I was making some religious content, some political content, stuff like that. But the more like regimented political and news content, that comes after the 2016 election, basically.
Right, because
That's
you
sort
were
of the
one of
timeline.
you got your fame because you were one of the few people that predicted Trump would win in
Exactly.
2016.
And then Sargon shouted me out and I got like 12,000 new subscribers in the course of 48 hours.
And didn't Trump retweet you? I thought.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Donald Trump himself tweeted out one of my videos at one point.
Yeah, I remember that. That was back in 2016, I guess. So yeah, the rest is history. So that's good. So are you still enjoying everything you're doing?
Oh yeah, it's very enjoyable.
That's cool. That's cool. All right. So guys, if you want to check out Styx, go to his website and he's real prolific. He does how many videos do you do a day typically?
4
Wow, that's a crazy.
plus
And
5 live streams a week plus whatever else I do. So it is a bit of work, you know.
yeah, you're like a workaholic. So you gotta love it. Otherwise, that would just drive you insane, I imagine. Well, maybe you are insane, but that's okay in a good way.
I am.
Yeah. Guys, it's been a lot of fun. Thank you. And Styx, we have thousands of people here. Thank you for joining. It's been so great to have you. And I thought about you a lot. It was kind of funny because you were briefly my happy home guest after Tina went. Tina, she passed away. That was really sad. So
Yeah.
it was bad. So, but I'm glad you're doing well, and I hope everything goes well for you. And hey, if you cast a spell, can you cast good spells?
Oh, of course.
Cast a good one for me then, right? Okay.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you, Styx. I appreciate it. And guys, thank you. And we'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.